Today, we're going to tackle a question that is, without a doubt, on the minds of millions of parents all across India. Can we even afford a good education for our children anymore? I mean, the costs are just skyrocketing, and the pressure, it's intense. So let's just jump right in and break this all down.
The Nobel laureate Amartya Sen put it perfectly. Education is supposed to be this amazing tool for freedom, right? It's the path to a better, fuller life. It's the ultimate investment in a person's potential.
But, and this is the big but, what happens when that very key to freedom starts feeling more like a financial prison for parents? When just trying to give your kid a good future puts your own present at risk? That's exactly what we're digging into today. So, that's the big question, isn't it? Is education in India today still a promise of a better life? Or has it turned into one of the heaviest burdens a family can possibly carry? Okay, let's start with the 30,000-foot view. In just about a decade, the average spend on education per person in India hasn't just gone up, it has quadrupled. Yeah, you heard that right. It's gone from around 1,500 rupees a year to over 6,000. And listen, this isn't just your standard inflation, no way. This is a massive shift that's turned education into one of the biggest line items in a family's entire budget. All right, so where is all this money actually going? Let's follow the trail, starting right at the beginning with the first major bill parents get hit with, the school bill. And believe me, this is a commitment that can stick around for 14 years or more. Just take a look at these numbers. And remember, this is just for tuition fees, all the way from nursery to 12th grade. In a city like Pune, you could be looking at about 9 lakh for an affordable school, or a completely mind-boggling 76 lakh for an elite one. Look at Mumbai. It's a range from about 8 lakh all the way up to over 60 lakh. I mean, it just perfectly shows you how wildly different the costs can be, depending on which path a family takes. And just when you think you've crossed the finish line, you've finally paid off all those years of school fees, you realize you're just at the bottom of an even steeper mountain: higher education. So let's get really specific for a second to see what we're up against. We all know private colleges cost more, right? But how much more? What's the actual real-world difference for one of the most desired degrees in the whole country? Well, the difference isn't just big, it's colossal. This chart says it all, really. If you manage to get a spot in a government medical college, you might pay just under 2 lakh rupees for the entire degree. But if you have to go the private route, that cost explodes to over 82 lakh rupees. That is more than 40 times the price for the exact same degree. Just let that sink in. And hey, this massive gap, it's not just in medicine. Look at engineering, a B.Tech. You're talking about 6 lakh in a government college versus almost 17 lakh in a private one. Architecture, 7 lakh versus over 30 lakh. The gap changes from field to field, but the story is always the same. Choosing between public and private can literally change the entire financial trajectory of a family's life. And just when you think it's finally over, nope, there's post-graduation. Because in today's world, a bachelor's degree is often just the starting point. If you really want to get an edge, you need to specialize. And that means, yep, you guessed it, another huge round of expenses. And the story just keeps going at the postgraduate level. A PG medical degree? A little over 2 lakh from a government college, but almost 52 lakh from a private one. Look at an MBA, even that jumps from 16 lakh to nearly 26 lakh. This is what specialization costs today. Okay, let's tie this all together for a second. Let's take the journey of becoming a doctor. If you are brilliant, you ace every single exam, and you get into government institutions from start to finish, you might spend around 20 lakh rupees. But what if you go through the private system for everything, school, undergrad, and postgrad? You are looking at a jaw-dropping 1.5 crore rupees. The path you end up on has absolutely massive financial consequences. Okay, so you've seen the numbers. They're big, right? And you might be thinking, all right, it's a lot, but I can plan for it. Well, there's a catch. There's this hidden factor that makes all these numbers a constantly moving target. You think you know what something's going to cost, but you're probably forgetting something absolutely crucial. And here it is. It's called education inflation. This is the silent killer of parents' financial plans. We all worry about regular inflation making our groceries more expensive, but the cost of education is rising at a much, much faster clip. How fast, you ask? On average, we're talking about 10 to 12% every single year. What that means is a degree that costs 20 lakh rupees today could easily cost over 50 lakh in just 10 years. This is the hidden tax you're paying on your child's future.
And remember, that 10 to 12%, that's just the average. Look at these real examples from just last year. Some schools in Pune hiked their fees by 36%. One even hit 42%. A school in Hyderabad, a 34% jump. I mean, these aren't small adjustments. These are massive, unpredictable financial shocks to a family. And this is really the heart of the problem, right? For most of us, our salary hikes just can't keep up with this. It's like you're in a race, but the finish line is moving away from you faster than you can possibly run.
So, okay, the situation looks pretty daunting. I get it. But just feeling overwhelmed isn't a strategy. The good news is, if you have a clear game plan, this is totally manageable. It's all about being proactive instead of reactive. And it really comes down to 3 simple but really powerful steps. First, you have to define your goal. Know exactly what you're saving for. Second, you need to estimate what that goal is going to cost in the future, always remembering to factor in that crazy inflation. And third, you have to invest systematically to make sure you hit that target. And what's really key here is that your strategy has to change depending on your timeline. If your child is really young, say under 5, then time is your best friend. You can start small sips in an equity-heavy portfolio and let the power of compounding do the heavy lifting for you. If you're starting a bit later, maybe your kid is 6 to 12, you've got to get more aggressive with your contributions to play catch-up. And if college is just around the corner, well, then the game shifts entirely. You're focused on protecting what you have and looking at things like education loans to fill in any final gaps. So here's the main takeaway, the most important thing to remember. You just can't treat your child's education like some other expense that you'll, figure out when the time comes. It absolutely has to be a dedicated, non-negotiable financial goal. It needs its own plan, its own investment bucket, just like you would for your retirement. Look, at the end of the day, this whole conversation isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. Yes, the numbers are big, they're intimidating, but they are not impossible. It's about shifting the question in your mind. It's not, can I afford it? It's, how will I plan for it? By making that shift, you take back control. And the time to start planning? It's right now.